What?
Bow
What?
down to Washington.
Bow down to Washington.
I can't get that out of my head, man. I can't get that out of
That's
my head.
that's your open. That's my cold open. Thank you, Christian. We got that. Hello, welcome back to the Seattle Storm Roundtable. It is the 18th of February. After it's been great. I always love talking with these guys, and I'm glad we've been able to do a few of these. The Storm have kind of picked up their activity. And from what we heard in a presser today, they might not be done. And as I think Christian was told, free agency isn't over. And I'm like, oh, sure. Okay. Um, oh, and another part was that Talisa might have some more magic up her sleeve. Well, I don't know who you're trading for, dog. We'll see. Uh, Sorry to start it off like that. Earlier today, there was a media availability with general manager Talisa Rhea. Yeah, I always see that now. I know how to say Talisa. I imagine it's Ray. I haven't heard it said any other way. And head coach Noelle Quinn. It was geared towards free agency, but obviously with the discussion around the team, the investigation was asked about on numerous occasions. Um, it was interesting. I mean, I don't really think we got anything brand new. It seemed like the Storm just kind of doubled down, saying that they went through the process how they should have, so on and so forth. Um, at least in regards to the investigation. When talking about the roster, um, you know, it was interesting to hear. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Christian asked about, some of the three-point shooting. Did you ask about three-point shooting? Uh,
Yeah, and they said basically, off season isn't over yet.
yeah, they're.
And I mean, technically it's not over yet, but if I'm looking at just the roster moves to date,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't see them being too far away from where they were last year as far as 3-point shooting. If we're looking purely at stats from the players last season, I mean, you know, they're not done yet, though. So that's
Yeah. Well, and what kind of was funny to me was, talking about the three-point shooting specifically, it was about how, if you looked at Skylar's numbers towards the end of the year and how NECA shot the three ball throughout the year and Gabby's production towards the end of the year. I'm like, okay, you're banking on a smaller sample size. Interesting. Then they mentioned Erica Wheeler shooting threes, and I was like, fascinating. All right. Okay.
Although I
Um,
actually feel like they emphasized Lexi Brown's three-point shooting
oh yeah. Well,
more so
I'm
than
more going
anyone, it
towards
felt like
the
to me.
yeah. Well, and so like don't worry, we'll talk about Lexi. We will talk about Lexi. But it was just kind of fascinating. And to Christian, what Christian just mentioned, I was thinking about this after we got done with the presser. I'm like, you really haven't gotten much better, if anything, from last year's team. And there are other teams like ahead of you in standings that did get better. That Vegas bench is better. Like Connecticut was a top team. I don't know. I don't know what the hell Connecticut is doing. Every day I wake up and it seems like Connecticut has said some more bizarre things and they're denying trade requests. Um,
You know what's crazy? I mean, this
mhm.
is a Seattle Storm show, but
Yeah.
I will say this. I spoke to Brendan Glasheen today, and not gonna lie to you, you could be worse. You could be the Mystics.
Fair.
Yeah.
Sorry. I mean, you,
There are
you could
some
be.
clear bottom teams, right?
I don't think they're gonna be that bad. Like they might be around like the Valkyries fighting for like a maybe a final 8 seed. Or is it gonna be a 9 seed now? Now they're just 13 teams?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not good at math. Someone help me, please.
I haven't even thought about the playoffs. Like the Valkyries aren't even they're nothing
Has
really.
Kathy thought about the playoffs yet? That's a serious question.
Ah.
Okay.
Well, another thing that jump scared me was looking at across the timelines rosters and seeing the Toronto tempo. I was like, wait a minute, when did and I think they're just getting prepared for that because I was like, hold on, why do you have a roster list? Anyway, let me get back on track. I apologize. I just want to hear some thoughts and opinions on that presser. Uh because, again, it wasn't like we got any super juicy details about the investigation or about what they're looking for. They really didn't even address what they want to do with the second overall pick. W- they did say they want it to be someone that affects them now and into the future. Christian, obviously you were in there. I want to know what you thought about it as someone also who did ask questions about it. And then Rowan, just your thoughts as well on what we heard today. Because, yeah, I don't know. It was something for sure.
It was something. I'll say that. It was definitely something. You know, coming into this presser, the goal was to talk about, the free agency acquisitions, the trades, to better the roster. But I just feel like you can't really avoid the elephant in the room, which is really the first time you've spoken to the media since the announcement of the launch of the investigation. Also, the findings that there were no violations, and then also Joe Lloyd requesting a trade. So those are three different, you know, things that have happened where we haven't spoken to the team. So it's understandable why the moves that they've made to better the roster, which we're going to get into in a minute, weren't really the topic of conversation. I mean, there were about maybe 25 journalists in there, and I say out of the 25 that got questions was maybe about 14. Out of those 14, maybe about 10 or 12 questions were about Jewel and the trade and the investigation. That's understandably so. So there's going to be a lot of work, of course, coming out from CSS this week, what's going on with the presser, the team, but also, other outlets that are also doing their thing with this because it's news. This is the first time we've spoken to the, Storm brass since then. But as far as the presser overall, honestly, they're damned if they do, damned if they don't. So, I mean, I understand the PR response to a lot of these questions. I do. But at the same time, we can't just actively ignore the fact that there were multiple reports of player mistreatment. There wasn't just one, like that's been singled out from Joe Lloyd, who's not out on the scene in Las Vegas. But that is something that, we might not ever really get the full truth or story behind what actually happened. We know pieces of nuggets we've had our own reporting. There other outlets have had their own reporting, but we still don't know the full truth. Again, we might not ever know that truth. But as far as the way it was addressed today, it could have been a lot better. You know, I understand that we are in an effort. Literally, we're in 2025. We're turning the page toward the 2025 season. But at the same time, that cloud of doubt surrounding Seattle, you can't tell me that didn't play a role in free agency talks. I can't remember if it was Coach Quinn, if that was Talisa Rhea, but basically one of them said that we didn't talk to a lot of players. We went out there and got what we needed. And if that's the case, then I mean, I don't see the 3-point shooting getting that much better. Again, they said free agency is still going on. You can still acquire players. I understand that. But right now, I don't see that much improvement that it was touted as, especially considering the talent that was brought in. Yes, this is guards and players that the team will need. But as far as actually elevating that ceiling, what competing for a championship, I just don't see it in present day.
Yeah, I mean, I second everything that you said. I think it's interesting, at least what I took away from the presser in terms of what they're still looking for. I think when Coach Quinn said something about, Talisa having more tricks up her sleeve, I think she was referring to rebounding help. I think there was a journalist that asked about, rebounding and how that's always been an emphasis. And the way that she answered the question, if I remember correctly, was basically just wait, there's something in there. And then, right, with the 3-point shooting, the answer was, that they had confidence in every, I mean, like you said, everyone on the roster. And it felt a little deflected, maybe not deflective is the right word, but just the way that then they're talking about how they went out and got what they wanted, it doesn't feel I don't know how much I trust that because I'm like, so if you're still saying there's still time and we still have these plans, and then you're bringing up 3-point shooting and rebounding as concerns, I don't see how the people that you have on your roster would be the people that you went out to get, is I guess if that makes any sense. But it seems like, it just seems like something that I do think that they found people, the people that were left over that they found were people that fit the identity enough. I said I think Erica Wheeler, is a great fit in Seattle. It fits what the Storm usually like to do with free agents, vet free agents, same with Alicia Clark. But when you look at who they did get, it feels like it was not, if they had the whole field open, those are the people that they would pick. So I think it really, you're right, didn't clarify much at all. And I was a little bit surprised, honestly, how many questions there were about the investigation. And I wonder if Talisa and Coach Quinn were as well, because I think that they might have thought that the dust had settled enough and that they could really focus on free agency. And yes, the PR
Let's
face was in
PRing.
full swing, was in full swing. And you're right, we got no answers. Really, anything that was mentioned about Jewel, that was mentioned about the investigation, was immediately, switched on to talking about someone, one of the free agents. And yeah, there was just a lot there that felt unanswered.
I have a question for the both of you.
Okay.
What's your favorite ice cream?
Coffee,
Cookie dough.
What brand?
Molly Moons in Seattle.
I don't need too much
Okay.
ice cream. I'm behind on that.
Let's say you go to the store and just your luck, your favorite brand is out. What's the second kind that you get?
Right. Ben and
Ooh.
Jerry's. I don't know.
You're happy with that, right?
Yeah,
But it's not what you
it's not
wanted.
what I wanted. Right.
That's the Storm's off season in a nutshell. You got fulfillment, you got betterment, but is exactly the class of athlete talent level that you thought you were going to get?
Totally.
That didn't happen.
No.
Sorry, I'm hungry too right now. So
I like the question. I like it.
No, it was good. No, it made sense. I want to say this because through our reporting, here, obviously there have been people online who have felt ways about how the investigation went, who was about so on and so forth, right? That's just a matter of fact. I'm not saying name like there people felt ways, different ways, right? To different folks involved. I'm sure, there might be folks upset about, the way that we're talking about this. They're like, oh, folks maybe who are super pro Noelle, so on and so forth, right? I mean, you can go back in our Storm stuff previously about how we've talked about Noelle. It's all very good stuff, right? Obviously, this investigation is serious, you know, but if you want to look at this, if you want me to look at this press conference purely basketball wise, they did not get better this offseason, right? Last year, you had a pretty solid starting five. I'd say one of the starting fives that would rival just about any in the league. Okay. That bench, though, was a problem throughout the course of the year. Was it not? Have we all not talked about that? This bench, I mean, Alicia Clark, solid. Great. I love AC. Great defense, some spacing. Sure. Good. Lee, I'm really excited on Lee. I know I was watching and Christian was like, "You see it?" I was like, "I see it. I'm excited." Zaya Cook could be fun. hmm Kenzie Holmes, three-level scorer. If it's there, again, knee injuries. I don't know if you're coming back full strength, right? Um, Brianna Frazier hasn't played a WNBA game yet. I don't know what I'm getting. Could be out to prove something. Like that's a lot, generally a lot of unproven for a team that wants, as we've all talked about, wants to contend, right? Again, after Seattle signed AC, Vegas fans were like, "What are they doing? What's happening with this exodus of the bench?" And then they got better on the bench. Like, hey man, good GMs figure it out,
I
and
mean, I
and
think, well, with that, if I can't, with Kenzie Holmes, and I think something that I've been thinking about, and exactly like you're saying, just full like respect towards her and everything, and hoping her, hoping the best for her. But Lexi Brown has been through a lot, in the
yes,
past few years, and I think it's really sad that we ever have to question, how she will be on a
yeah,
team because of something, a health issue that she can't control. But unfortunately, it's that thing where when we have just talked and talked and talked about the Storm needing bodies in this time, when you have two people, you have Jordan Horston and Mika Mule who will be there in the future but are not at the time. It's hard to look at Lexi Brown as an overall, for sure, yes, she's going to be there. And I think the way that, um, Noelle Quinn mentioned in the presser that, Lexi Brown's playing great in AU right now, and, super happy for her, and hope that that can continue. And that it sounds like the Storm organization is feeling pretty confident about how she will be in the season, but it's still a question mark. And
yep,
again, like you were saying, Christian, I think that just knowing what we know about what the Storm needs, I don't think she would have been the first choice for the gap that they're looking to fill. I'm sure that, it sounds like they've been looking at her and that she would have been a great addition to the bench regardless. But for someone that, for players that can really be depended on when that's exactly what the Storm needs right now, it's not looking so great for dependability. And that's very important.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, were you going to watch the Seattle Storm away games this year?
Away games. Well, Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports. So I was thinking of coming here if that's okay with you.
I think that makes a lot of sense. See you all here. Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, were you going to watch the Seattle Storm away games this year?
Away games. Well, Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports. So I was thinking of coming here if that's okay with you.
I think that makes a lot of sense. See you all here.